But this cold snap is presenting some problems across our region. While freeze warnings are in effect tonight, but the cold is just not the unusual part. Queen City News has a team of meteorologists staying on top of the latest conditions. We want to start with meteorologist Elisa Raffa. She is live in the berry fields of South Carolina. Elisa, farmers there, they have to act fast to protect their early blooms.
Yes, Casey, they've been acting since yesterday to cover up all of these berries here. They tell me that things have been blooming more than a month ahead of schedule here at the Ivy Place Berry Farm in Lancaster, South Carolina. Now, I'm sitting in a batch of strawberries, 3 acres of strawberries here that are all covered. You can see all of these white sheets. Here's a little bit of that strawberry plant that is peeking through. Now, last night they covered these strawberries with 1 layer of covers. Tonight, they are actually using 2 layers of covers because they're expecting temperatures to get into the middle 20s for about 6 hours tonight. So they're concerned about the strawberries, but they can rebloom and make more berries. They're more easily able to be covered, and any of these flowers that are in here can make more strawberries in the next couple of weeks. Now, mind you, we typically wouldn't have these strawberries until April. These berries really started to pop in February. Now, we also have blueberries out there too. Now, these blueberry bushes are really interesting because they have also been blooming ahead of schedule. But what the farmer here, Terry Graham, told me was that he purposefully planted multiple varieties of blueberries, some that bloom earlier in the season, some that bloom later in the season, to kind of stagger his crop and diminish that risk of things like this happening. Well, things that shouldn't be picked until July are blooming now. That's how warm this winter was. He said everything started blooming all together at once, and now he's left with all of these blueberries blooming together at the same time, and way too early, more than a month early, a month ahead of schedule. Now, the problem with the blueberry crop is, as you can see, there wasn't really too many covers on them. You can't cover the bushes as easily. It's a little bit more difficult. So they're just hoping that the freeze isn't too damaging on the blueberries, because once those blueberries freeze, you cannot get them back, unlike these strawberries here. Now, again, they're covered all up for tonight. They have another night to get through tomorrow, Tara. And again, like we keep mentioning, it's not this cold that's unusual. The farmers are telling me they've never seen everything bloom like this so early. Things started to pop in February.
Right, and it's the fact, and as we were saying yesterday, that January and February especially were so warm.
But this cold snap is presenting some problems across our region while freeze warnings are in effect tonight. Queen City News has a team of meteorologists staying on top of the latest conditions. We want to head back out to meteorologist Elisa Raffa. She's live in the berry fields of South Carolina. Elisa, you were just telling us that farmers there, they're having to act fast to protect their early blooms. There are blankets over the berries.
Yeah, we have strawberries here that are covered in 2 layers to protect them from temperatures in the 20s for more than 6 hours tonight. That's what they're expecting, and they're easy to cover up, and they do think that they'll get a couple of more strawberries from these flowers even after the freeze. But I want to take your attention over here where you can see Farmer Terry Graham is running dirt. And what he's doing is those rows of dirt there, that's potatoes. And he told us even the potatoes that grow underground bloomed early and are susceptible to this freeze. So what he's doing is he's putting more dirt over the potatoes to kind of blanket them a little bit more as well. So the potatoes have a blanket of dirt. The strawberries have 2 blankets on top of them to keep them warm. And then the blueberries, it's much harder to cover them in blankets because those are bigger bushes. So there's not as much that they can do for the blueberries. And what I thought was so fascinating about the blueberries is he told me that diversity is their friend, right? When they have multiple types of berries, that helps keep their crop in line where not everything is blooming at the same time. And it also helps ease that risk a little bit more. So he's got blueberries, some of them that bloom a little bit earlier, some of them that bloom later. Well, the winter was so warm that they all bloomed at the same time still, regardless. And some of these blueberries shouldn't be picked until June June or July. Even the late bloomers are blooming now. So the blueberries are a little bit more susceptible to that freeze. It's a little bit harder to do anything to protect them. Again, he's adding more dirt to the potatoes, and we've got layers of blankets here on the strawberries. Now he tells me that he's been doing this for decades. They've had this farm for more than 10 years. He's been doing this for decades, and he's never seen everything bloom like this all at once, especially those blueberries that some of them, you know, a lot of these things shouldn't have been blooming until April, right? He was joking about the strawberries that he typically doesn't get until April. Well, now he's like, oh, I'm going to have strawberries with my St. Patrick's Day beer, you know, just wild how early this is for them. And when it comes to the blueberries, he said some of those later summer blueberries that, you know, you typically don't see blooming well into April, he can't believe that they have come so early, because a lot of these things started blooming in February, weeks ago, when things were just too warm. And he actually said too that when we had these 80-degree temperatures in February, he's been doing this for decades. He knows how it goes. He actually started to order these covers, more of them, because he knew he was going to have to double up on the covers, because, I mean, there's no way you're not going to get a freeze after February, because this is just how it goes. The cold is not the unusual thing. The cold is normal for this time of year. He actually says he gets frost and freezes until a late April here. So when things started budding in February, he did get a little bit worried, got extra covers. So we'll see how all of these berries, potatoes, blueberries, we'll see how everything fares tonight. Again, he's expecting temperatures in the 20s, Tara.
Yes, I know. I mean, much like this morning, Elisa, down where you were, and as you know, I mean, they've been talking about it, 28 degrees was that official low.
Freezing warnings are in effect tonight. The cold is actually not the unusual part. Meteorologist Elisa Raffa live in Berry Fields in South Carolina to tell us how farmers are protecting their early bloom. So what is the unusual part?
It's the early blooms. We had such a warm winter that I'm standing in a field of strawberries that needed to be covered, because these strawberries should have been blooming in April, but they started to bud in February because we had 80-degree temperatures in February. Well, now these farmers here at the Ivy Place Berries Farm here in South Carolina, well, they need to cover them with 2 layers of blankets here to keep them protected. Now, these blankets can give an extra 2 to 3 degrees of protection. It's not just the strawberries that need protection, the blueberries as well. And what's so unique about the blueberries is that he planted them with more diverse blueberries. Some of them will bloom earlier, some of them later. Well, you know what? Winter was so warm, they all bloomed at the same time, and now it's hard to protect those blueberries, and those are at risk of the freeze. Here is farmer Terry Graham here at the Ivy Place Berries Farm.
The row covers are fabric. They're lightweight. They can give 2 or 3 degrees of protection. So, but it's a lot of labor to put them on and take them off, and put them on, take them off. Farmers are an eternal optimist, so we're always hoping that something good will happen. We're not particularly concerned about the strawberries because we think we can protect them. The blueberries are a little more concerning, but we have different varieties at different stages of bloom, so we tend to think hopefully it won't be a total loss, but it's certainly going to have some negative impact.
Yeah, they are definitely a little bit more concerned about the blueberries because, like I mentioned, they're a little bit harder to protect. These strawberries, even if they do freeze, these flowers can rebloom and create more strawberries. I also don't know if you've noticed, there is Farmer Graham. He is going back and forth up this kind of dirt row. Those are potatoes. Even the potatoes that are underground are also blooming early and susceptible to this freeze. So he is right now adding more dirt as their blanket to keep them protected, because he's expected temperatures in the 20s for at least 6 hours tonight. Now reporting live in Lancaster, South Carolina, meteorologist Elisa Raffa, Queen City News.
Yeah, farmers' work never ends. Lisa, thank you. No days off for the farmers.
No, they've been working around the clock to really protect their berries. Like you mentioned, the cold isn't the weird part. They get frost here down into mid-April. The problem is February was so warm. I'm standing in a blueberry field where all of these kind of white and pink petals that you see are blooming blueberry bushes, and there are even some berries in them. Now, what the interesting part is about these blueberry bushes is that the farmers here at the Ivy Place Berry Farm here in Lancaster tell me that they strategically picked different varietals of blueberries to plant and have over the course of these seasons, and they picked them. Some of them bloom earlier, some of them bloom later. Well, all of them bloomed at the same time here in February because it was just so warm. Even the blueberries that are typically not picked until July have been blooming. So it's just been incredible. They said that they've never seen anything like it with the temperatures that were just so warm in February. Now everything is blooming, which means now they're at risk tonight with that freeze. It's hard to protect these blueberry bushes because of the way they are. It's hard to get them covered up. Here's Terry Graham. He is the farmer here at the Ivy Place Berry Farms.
Farmers are eternal optimists, so we're always hoping that something good will happen. We're not particularly concerned about the strawberries because we think we can protect them. The blueberries are a little more concerning, but we have different varieties at different stages of bloom, so we tend to think hopefully it won't be a total loss, but it's certainly going to have some negative impact.
Yeah, they're worried about losing some of those blueberries. Now behind me you see covered up a bunch of strawberries that are covered with blankets. They covered them with one blanket last night. Tonight it's 2 blankets because they are expecting temperatures to get into the 20s for possibly 6 hours tonight. The strawberries are a little bit easier to salvage because those flowers will rebloom and they could create more berries going into the season. But even those weren't really supposed to bloom until April, and there were some that looked pretty ripe. I could pick and eat right now. We'll have some strawberries with our St. Patrick's Day beer. Reporting live in South Carolina, meteorologist Elisa Raffa, Queen City News.